Hi, loves. So happy to see you all here. I've got another news story for you guys today. Get comfy, grab something yummy, and let's get into it. So my coworker told me I should post this here, because apparently my life is quote-unquote Reddit gold. And honestly, at this point, I think she might be right, because every time I tell someone a new piece of this mess, they just sit there with their mouth open like I'm reading them a script. I wish I was making it up. I really do. I'm 26. I live in Shreveport, Louisiana. I've been completely on my own since I was 14 years old, and I need to say that first because it's the thing that everything else connects back to. Okay, so backstory. My dad was never in the picture. And I don't mean he left when I was little and I have some vague memory of him throwing a ball with me in the yard or whatever. I mean, I have never met this man. My mom got pregnant at 17, he was 19, and from what I've been able to piece together over the years, he wanted nothing to do with it. My mom told me once when I was maybe 10 that he moved to Texas before I was even born, and that was that. No name on the birth certificate, no custody arrangement because there was nothing to arrange. I used to ask about him when I was little, the way kids do, and every time I brought it up, my mom would get this attitude like I was personally insulting her by being curious about my own father. She told me I didn't need him and that she was enough. So for the first 13 years, it was just me and my mom. We lived in this 2-bedroom apartment off a road near the industrial side of town, the kind of area where you hear trucks downshifting at 4 a.m. and the parking lot always had at least one car up on cinder blocks. The walls were thin enough that I could hear our neighbor Stuart arguing with his girlfriend every single night about the same 3 topics on rotation. The carpet in the hallway had this stain that had been there since before we moved in, and management just kept putting those little yellow wet floor signs next to it, like that was a solution. It wasn't a nice place, but it was ours, and I knew every crack in the ceiling above my bed. My mom had me young, so by the time I was in middle school, she was only in her early 30s, and honestly, she acted like it. She wanted to go out. She wanted the life she felt like she missed. She'd leave me home on Friday nights with a frozen pizza and $20 and come back Sunday smelling like cigarettes and someone else's cologne. I learned to do my own laundry at 9. I was making my own doctor's appointments by 12 because she kept forgetting them. I signed my own permission slips for school trips because she was never awake before I left in the morning. And listen, I'm not saying this to be all poor me about it, I'm saying it because I need you to understand that even before Curtis, I was already basically raising myself. My mom was physically present in that apartment, but she was checked out. I was the kid who always had the key on a lanyard around my neck because there was nobody home after school. Then Curtis showed up. My mom met Curtis at some bar. I don't know which one, doesn't matter. He was maybe mid-30s, worked some kind of shift rotation thing because his schedule was always weird. Sometimes home all day, sometimes gone for days. He moved into our apartment about 5 months after they started seeing each other, which even as a 13-year-old I knew was fast. He showed up with a truck full of his stuff and just started filling the apartment with it. Suddenly there were his boots by the door and his coats taking up the whole closet and his food in the fridge, and I went from having my own space to feeling like a guest in my own home overnight. Curtis did not like me, and I'm not talking about the normal awkward thing where a guy doesn't know how to act around his girlfriend's kid. Curtis actively, openly, wanted me gone. He'd make comments when my mom wasn't in the room, how the apartment felt too small, how teenagers are messy and loud, how he and my mom couldn't build something real with me always underfoot. He told me once that my mom was a different person before she had me, happier, lighter, like I was this anchor she'd been dragging around and he was trying to cut her free. I was 13 when he said that. I was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, and he was leaning against the counter eating cereal out of a mixing bowl because he'd already broken 2 of our regular bowls within his first month there and never replaced them. And my mom just slowly started orbiting around him like he was the sun, and I was some old satellite drifting further out. She stopped asking about school. She stopped noticing when I was upset. One time I had a fever, like a real one, probably 102, and I asked her if she could take me to the clinic, and she told me to take some Tylenol because she and Curtis had plans. I rode the bus to the urgent care by myself with a blanket wrapped around me because I was shaking so hard. The nurse asked me where my parents were and I said my mom was busy. The nurse gave me a look that I still remember to this day. That look that adults give you when they understand something about your life that you haven't figured out yet. The thing about living with Curtis was that it wasn't one big dramatic blow-up, at least not until the end. It was a slow suffocation. He'd eat the last of something and not replace it, so I'd open the fridge after school and there'd be nothing but his beer and condiments. He'd take over the living room TV every night, so I'd sit in my room with the door shut, doing nothing. He'd have my mom laughing about something in the kitchen, and if I walked in, the energy would just die. Like I was this mood killer just by existing. My mom started keeping her bedroom door locked when they were in there, which she never did before. I started feeling like I was living with 2 roommates who didn't want a third. And the weekends were the worst because that's when Curtis would really make it obvious. They'd go out together Friday and Saturday, and sometimes Sunday too. No invite, no mention of it, they'd just be getting ready and then leaving. I'd be in the apartment alone for whole weekends with whatever groceries were left. I ate dry ramen noodles once, not even cooked, just crunched them up in the bag with a seasoning packet sprinkled in, because there was literally nothing else and I didn't have money to order food. I was 14. Then came the Thursday. I remember it was Thursday because I had a math test the next day I'd actually been studying for, which was rare for me at that point because my grades had tanked since Curtis moved in because shockingly, it's hard to focus on algebra when your home life is falling apart. I came home from school and there were garbage bags on the front step. Black hefty bags, the big contractor ones, and my stuff was inside them. Clothes, shoes, my pillow, some books. Not everything. Just whatever they decided was mine. My favorite hoodie wasn't in there. My yearbook from 7th grade wasn't in there. A photo album my grandma Zara gave me before she passed when I was 11 wasn't in there. That album had every picture of me from birth to about age 9, and I have never seen it since. My mom came outside and she was crying, but I need to be very specific about what kind of crying this was. She wasn't crying for me. She was crying because she felt guilty. And those are two completely different things. One is about the other person's pain, and one is about your own discomfort with what you're doing. She was doing the second one. She told me Curtis said he couldn't do this anymore and that if I stayed, he was leaving. She said she'd called her sister, my Aunt Tammy, and that Tammy said I could stay with her for a while. She told me this was temporary. She told me she'd come get me soon. She said it like she was dropping me off at summer camp, not putting my life in trash bags on a concrete step. I didn't cry. I remember that. I just picked up the bags and sat on the curb and waited for Tammy to come get me. My mom went back inside. I could see the TV light through the window. Curtis was watching something. Aunt Tammy drove 40 minutes from Bussier City to pick me up. She showed up in her minivan with the sliding door that stuck, and she put my garbage bags in the back, and she didn't say a word about my mom the entire drive. She had 2 kids, my cousins Brittany, who was 8, and her brother Bennett, who was 5. The place was small, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a kitchen that you couldn't have 2 people in at the same time without bumping into each other. I slept on the couch for the first few months. Tammy eventually cleaned out a corner of the laundry room and put a twin mattress on the floor for me. That became my room. A mattress wedged between a washing machine and a shelf of detergent bottles. I did my homework at night with the spin cycle going because Tammy ran laundry late after the kids were asleep. The dryer vent leaked warm air that made the room humid. My clothes always smelled faintly like Gain and machine heat. I lived in that laundry room for 3 years. And here's the part that still makes me want to break something. My mom told everyone I ran away. She called the family, called the neighbors, called whoever would listen and told them that I'd gotten out of control. That I was rebellious and difficult and ungrateful and that I'd taken off one day and refused to come home. She completely flipped the entire story. And people bought it because I was a teenager, and teenagers are stupid, and my mom was charming when she needed to be, and Curtis was right there backing her up. Tammy knew the truth. She picked me up. She saw the bags on the step. She saw me sitting on the curb. But Tammy is the type of person who treats conflict like a house fire. She just leaves the building and hopes it burns out on its own. When I'd ask her why she didn't tell anyone what really happened, she'd say she didn't want to make things worse. I'm sorry. Worse for who? For me? Sleeping on a mattress in your laundry room at 14? Or worse for you because you'd have to have an uncomfortable conversation with your sister? In 12 years, my mother did not contact me. Not once. Not on my birthday. Not on Christmas. Not when I graduated, which I did, by the way. I got my GED at 16 because my attendance was a mess from working and transportation issues. Then I went back and actually finished at an alternative school. I walked across that tiny stage in a borrowed cap and gown, and nobody from my family was there except Brittany, who was 13 by then, and took the bus to come see me. Brittany, a 13-year-old, showed up for me when no adult in my family could be bothered. I worked 2 shifts at a drive-thru most of my high school years. I got to that job on a bike that Tammy's neighbor sold me for $20. When I was 17, Tammy told me she loved me, but her situation was getting tighter and she needed the space back. I wasn't angry at her for that, not really, because she'd done more than my actual mother. I moved in with my friend Elena, whose family had a room over their garage. Elena's mom charged me $200 a month, which looking back was basically charity, and she knew it. I stayed there until 19, and then got my own place. I'm 26 now. I have a life. It's not some big success story with a bow on it. I drive a 2018 Nissan Sentra I bought used and I'm still making payments on. I rent half a duplex where my neighbor plays Zydeco music at 7 in the morning on weekdays, at volumes that should be criminally prosecuted. But I've lived through worse, so I just bang on the wall and he turns it down for like an hour. I eat cereal for dinner sometimes when payday is 2 days away. But it's mine. All of it. I built it from garbage bags on a curb. Okay, so here's where it gets absolutely unhinged. About 4 months ago, regular Wednesday. I'm at work doing my thing, and one of the security guys comes over and says there's a woman in the lobby asking for me by name. I walked out, and it was my mother. I hadn't seen her in person in probably 6 years. Last time was at a family cookout at my Uncle Derek's house where she showed up with Curtis and treated me like a neighbor she vaguely recognized. She waved from across the yard. I left before she could come over. That was it. Now she's standing in my work lobby, crying and asking to talk to me, and the security guy is looking at me like he's waiting for instructions, and there are coworkers walking through seeing this whole mess unfold. I said no. I told her to leave. I walked back. She did not leave. She sat in that lobby for almost an hour until security told her she had to go. She came back the following week. Same thing. Showed up, asked for me, got emotional with the front desk people, telling them she's my mother and I'm shutting her out and she just needs 5 minutes. Natalia from my team had to come get me because the receptionist was overwhelmed. I went out there and I told my mother directly that if she came to my workplace one more time, I'd have her officially trespassed. She kept saying Curtis was gone, that she'd made the biggest mistake of her life, that things were different now. I told her that was real interesting for her and that she needed to leave my building. I found out through Tammy what happened. Curtis cheated on my mom. Not some small thing. He'd had this whole other situation going for years. Some woman he'd been seeing the whole time. He just straight up told my mom he was leaving her for this other person. Packed up and left. Left her alone in the same apartment she threw me out of 12 years ago. And the second he was gone, she couldn't handle being alone. Started calling family members she'd frozen out for years. And she found out where I worked because my cousin Brittany mentioned it in a family group chat. Brittany felt terrible about that. She had no idea my mom was even in that chat still. After I told my mom not to come back, she did what she does best. She went full victim, called every relative she could reach. Aunts, uncles, cousins, people I haven't heard from since childhood. Told them all she'd tried to apologize and reconnect and I'd threatened her with security and was being cruel and heartless. And it worked. My phone went crazy. Uncle Derek called me and spent 20 minutes telling me family is family and that my mom didn't put me in the system. She made sure I went to Tammy and that should count for something. I asked him when he last called me. Silence. I asked him if he ever once in 12 years checked to see if I was alive. He said he didn't know the full story. I told him he didn't try to know it. He told me I was being difficult. Same word Curtis used to use. That tracks. Then Aunt Josephine from Houston got involved. Josephine is the family member who thinks she's everyone's manager. She called me and went on this whole speech about how my mother suffered too. How Curtis was controlling. First time hearing of that, by the way. Nobody said a word about that in 12 years. And how now that he's gone, my mom is finally free to be the mother she always wanted to be. I told Josephine my mom could be whatever she wanted, just not with me. Josephine said I'd regret this when she dies. I told Josephine she's been dead to me since I was 14 and I've been doing just fine with it. That got repeated to the whole family because of course it did. My cousin Ricky, who I used to be close with when we were kids, sent me this long text about how holding on to anger only hurts me. Ricky, who didn't know my birthday until I told him 3 years ago, who never offered me a ride, a meal, a couch, a single thing. That Ricky wants to lecture me about forgiveness. Not one of them has acknowledged what actually happened. They all skip past the garbage bags and go straight to, but she's your mother. They skip past 12 years of nothing and jump to, but she's trying now. They skip past the part where she only came looking for me because the man she chose over me dumped her, and she can't stand being alone. I blocked Josephine after she said my grandmother would be ashamed of me, which is unbelievable because my grandmother Zara is the one who gave me the photo album my mother didn't even bother putting in the garbage bags. But here's the part I haven't told anyone, and the reason I'm actually posting this. Last week, Brittany called me. Brittany is one of the only people in this family I actually trust because she grew up in the same house I did. She was 8 when I moved into Tammy's laundry room, but she remembers everything. She told me my mom is telling people a completely new version of what happened. Not just the old she ran away story. A new version. And it involves stuff about me that isn't true, and stuff about what happened right before I was thrown out that she's totally rewritten. Brittany wouldn't give me the full details on the phone. She said I needed to hear it from Tammy, because Tammy knows the whole version of what my mom's been spreading, and there's something Tammy's been keeping from me. Something from when I was 14. Something nobody has told me in 12 years. Brittany was genuinely upset. Not performative upset, not dramatic, actually shaken. She kept saying she was sorry and that she'd only just found out because Tammy let something slip during an argument they were having about this whole situation. She said, I needed to talk to Tammy before I did anything else. I haven't called Tammy yet. I keep picking up my phone and putting it down, but Brittany doesn't exaggerate. She's not a dramatic person. Whatever this is, it shook her. And that scares me more than anything my mom's done so far. So that's where I am. Mother showed up at my job twice sobbing to strangers about wanting her baby back. Family who didn't check on me once in 12 years is suddenly calling me heartless. And apparently Tammy's been holding on to something since I was 14 that I still don't know. I'm going to call Tammy this weekend. I'll update after. If you read this whole thing, you're already more invested in my life than anyone who shares my blood, so genuinely thank you for that. Here's my thing. You don't get to come back 12 years later because your boyfriend dumped you and call it a mother's love. That's not love, babe. That's loneliness. Those are two very different things, and I need everyone in her family to learn the difference. Derek really said, family is family. Like that means something. Cool speech, sir. Would have hit harder 12 years ago when she was doing homework next to a dryer, but sure go off now when it costs you nothing. I think the thing that people don't understand about situations like this is, forgiving someone isn't the hard part. The hard part is that if she lets her mom back in and her mom gets another boyfriend tomorrow, she's getting dropped again. And she knows that. Because her mom didn't have some big life change. She didn't go to therapy. She didn't wake up one day and realize she was wrong. She just ran out of people. And a mom who only wants you when she's got nobody else will always find somebody else eventually. Brittany taking a bus at 13 to watch her graduate is the only real love in this entire story, and I will not be taking questions on that. Update. First of all, thank you to every single person who commented on my original post. I read everyone. Somebody said something about how families treat the person who got hurt like they're the problem, because it's easier than admitting they all failed. And I screenshot that and sent it to Brittany, because that's exactly what's happening here. A few people asked for an update after I talked to Tammy, and honestly, I wish I had a simple, clean answer for you, but this is my family. So of course, nothing is simple or clean. Okay, let me walk through this. So, Saturday morning, I drove out to Tammy's place. I hadn't been out there in probably a year. I usually see Tammy and Brittany when they come into Shreveport for shopping or whatever, but I don't go out to the trailer much because honestly, it brings up a lot of stuff. Driving down that gravel road, hearing my tires crunch on the rocks, and seeing the tree line and that mailbox at the end of the driveway that's been leaning sideways since 2014, it just takes me right back to being 14. But I went because Brittany said I needed to hear this in person, and she was right. Brittany was already there when I pulled up. She was sitting on the front steps smoking, which she only does when she's stressed. Bennett, Tammy's son, who's 18 now, was inside playing something loud on his TV, and Tammy told him to go to his room or leave, and he got annoyed about it, but he left. Went to sit in his truck in the driveway with his phone. So it was just me, Tammy, and Brittany at the kitchen table. Same table from when I was 14. Same wobbly leg. Brittany had stuck a folded napkin under it at some point, but it still rocked every time someone put their elbows on it. Tammy looked like she'd been dreading this. She kept getting up to refill her water glass even though it was still full. She started by saying she loved me and she'd always loved me, and I could tell she was building up to something she'd rehearsed. I told her I didn't need a speech. I needed the truth. Brittany squeezed my hand under the table. So here's what Tammy told me. The story my mom is currently telling the family, the news story, not the original she ran away version, is this. My mom is telling people that she didn't throw me out. She's saying that Curtis wanted to put me in actual foster care, that he'd already started looking into it, and that my mom intervened by calling Tammy and arranging for me to stay there instead. She's framing it like she protected me from the system, like she fought Curtis to keep me out of foster care and Tammy's house was the compromise. She's telling people she sent me to Tammy because it was the best option she had, and that she always intended to bring me back, but Curtis wouldn't allow it. I sat there listening to this, and I could feel myself getting hot. Just this full body rage that starts in your chest and goes outward. Because this is not what happened. Curtis didn't threaten foster care. He said it's me or the kid. That was it. There was no negotiation, no compromise, no my mom fighting for me behind the scenes. She chose him. She packed my stuff. She put it outside. End of story. But Tammy wasn't done. She said there's a reason my mom is changing the story now, and it's not just about making herself look better, although obviously that's part of it. The reason is that my mom wants to move in with me. Let me say that again because I need you to understand the absolute audacity of this. My mother, who put my belongings in garbage bags and chose a man over me when I was a child, who told everyone I ran away, who did not call me for 12 years, who only showed up at my job because the man she chose dumped her. She wants to move into my home, the duplex I pay for, the life I built. She wants back in. Tammy said my mom has been telling relatives that I have space, that I live alone, that I have a spare room. I have a one-bedroom duplex. My second room is barely a closet that I use for storage. And that the right thing for a daughter to do is help her mother when she's in a bad situation. She's been planting this idea with the family for weeks. That's why everyone's been calling me. It's not just about reconciliation or forgiveness. It's a campaign. She's trying to get the family to pressure me into letting her live with me. Brittany was watching my face while Tammy was telling me all this, and I could see she was bracing for my reaction. I was honestly so calm it was scary. I looked at Tammy and I told her, okay, that's insane, but that's not what Brittany said you've been keeping from me. What's the other thing? Tammy got quiet. She did the water glass thing again. Stood up, walked to the sink, ran the tap even though her glass was full, sat back down. Brittany told her to just say it. When I was 14 and my mom called Tammy to come get me, Tammy didn't just agree and show up. There was a conversation before that. My mom called Tammy the night before the garbage bags, Wednesday night. And during that call, my mom didn't just ask Tammy to take me. She asked Tammy if she would keep me permanently, not temporarily, not for a few weeks while things calmed down. My mom asked her sister to take full custody level responsibility for me with no plan to ever take me back. Tammy said my mom's exact words were something like, I can't do this anymore, and I need you to take her and not bring her back. Not Curtis can't handle this, not I need some time. I can't do this and don't bring her back. My mom didn't choose Curtis over me because he gave her an ultimatum. The ultimatum might have been real, I don't know, maybe he did say it's me or the kid. But my mom was already done. She'd already decided she didn't want to be my parent anymore. Curtis was just the excuse she used so she didn't have to say the real thing out loud, which is that she was tired of being a mother and she wanted out. Tammy told me she didn't tell me this before because she thought it would do more harm than good. She said I was already dealing with enough, and knowing that my mom actively wanted to get rid of me versus being pressured into it by Curtis would have destroyed 14-year-old me, and maybe she's right about that. Maybe 14-year-old me couldn't have handled knowing that, but I'm not 14 anymore and she should have told me years ago. I asked Tammy why she's telling me now, and she said it's because she's furious about my mom's new story. The idea that my mom is going around telling people she fought to keep me, that Curtis was the villain and she was the hero who saved me from foster care. When Tammy was on the phone with her that Wednesday night and heard her say she didn't want me anymore, Tammy said she can't stay quiet about that. She said she's watched my mom rewrite history for 12 years and she's done. And then something else came out. Brittany already knew this part, which is why she'd been so insistent I come in person. My mom has been talking to Uncle Derek. A lot. Not just the one call about pressuring me. Regular conversations, multiple times a week. And Derek, Wonderful Uncle Derek, who lectured me about family being family, has been helping my mom plan this whole thing. He's been advising her on what to say to relatives, how to frame the story, which family members to call first, who's most likely to side with her. Derek has basically been running a PR strategy for my mother's redemption tour. Tammy found this out because Brittany overheard a call between Tammy and Derek where Derek basically told Tammy to stop making things complicated and to convince me to let my mom stay with me. Because if my mom ends up homeless, it'll look bad on the whole family. That's what he said. It'll look bad on the family. Not my mom made a horrible choice and is facing the consequences. Not my mom abandoned her child, and that child doesn't owe her anything. It'll look bad on the family if we don't fix this. So Derek doesn't actually care about reconciliation. He doesn't care about my mom's feelings or mine. He cares about appearances. He cares about being able to say at the next family barbecue that everything's fine and everyone's taken care of and nobody has to feel uncomfortable about what happened to me. I asked Tammy point blank why she never stood up for me. Not now. Before. When I was 14. When I was 15 and sleeping in her laundry room and the whole family thought I was some runaway problem child. When I was 16 working at a drive-thru trying to finish school. Why she never once told anyone the truth. Tammy started crying. She said she was scared of my mom. Not physically scared, but scared of being cut off from the family. She said my mom has always been the one who controls the family narrative. If you go against her, you're out. And Tammy was a single mom with 2 kids and no support system outside of this family, and she couldn't afford to be on my mom's bad side. She chose her own survival over telling the truth for me. And you know what? I understand that. I do. I hate it, but I understand it because I know what it's like to not have a safety net and make choices based on fear. But understanding it doesn't make it not hurt. She watched me grow up in her laundry room knowing the truth, and she said nothing for 12 years. That's not nothing. Brittany was crying too at this point. She told me she's been arguing with Tammy about this for weeks. Ever since my mom started showing up at my job, Brittany has been pushing Tammy to tell me the truth, and Tammy kept putting it off. It took Brittany basically threatening to tell me herself for Tammy to agree to this conversation. I sat at that wobbly kitchen table for almost 2 hours. By the end, I wasn't angry anymore. Or I was. But it had shifted into something else. Something focused. Here's what I know now. My mother didn't throw me out because Curtis made her. She threw me out because she wanted to, and she used Curtis as cover. She's now rewriting the story again to position herself as my savior, so that the family will pressure me into giving her a place to live. Derek is actively helping her strategize this. The entire family pressure campaign isn't organic concern, it's coordinated. And Tammy has known the truth this whole time, and only told me because my mom's new lies were too much even for her. I drove home from Tammy's, and I sat in my duplex, and I just thought about things for a long time. I thought about that Wednesday night phone call where my mom told her sister to take me and not bring me back. I thought about the garbage bags. I thought about riding a $20 Schwinn to a drive-thru job in July heat. I thought about the spinning washing machine next to my mattress. I thought about every birthday and Christmas that came and went without a single call. And I thought about my mother standing in my work lobby crying about wanting her baby back. She doesn't want her baby back. She wants a roof. She wants someone to take care of her the way she never took care of me. That's all this is. After I got home from Tammy's, I got a text from Ricky. Not about the situation directly. He sent a message to the family group chat, which I'm still in because I muted it months ago and forgot to leave, saying that he talked to my mom and she's in a really rough place and the family needs to step up. Someone, I think it was Josephine, responded agreeing and then added that some people in this family care more about grudges than blood. And that was obviously about me. I almost responded, but Brittany texted me separately and told me not to engage yet. She said wait until I figure out my next move, like I'm playing chess with people who are supposed to love me. Here's the thing though. After everything Tammy told me, I realized something that changes the math on this whole situation. My mom's new story, the one where she saved me from foster care, means she's admitting she sent me away. She's not saying I ran away anymore. She's shifted her story from, I had nothing to do with it, to I was the one who arranged everything, but I did it to protect you. Which means if I can get her to commit to this new version, she can't go back to the old one. She's locked herself in. She admitted she was involved. She just changed the why. And that matters because right now, half the family still thinks I ran away. They've believed that for 12 years. If my mom is now going around saying, actually, I sent her to Tammy's because I was saving her from Curtis, that directly contradicts what she told everyone before. Some people in this family are going to notice that those stories don't match up. And if they don't notice on their own, I'm going to make them notice. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do yet. Brittany and I have been talking about it. She's fully on my side, and honestly, she's been angrier about this than I am in some ways because she grew up watching me live in that laundry room, and she's always felt guilty that she had a bedroom and I didn't even know she was a child and none of it was her fault. But I know this. I'm not letting my mother into my home. I'm not letting her into my life. And I'm not going to sit quietly while she rewrites 12 years of abandonment into a story where she's the hero. What I haven't figured out yet is how to handle Derek. Because Derek isn't just some relative with an opinion. He's the one orchestrating this from behind the scenes, and he's doing it for the most selfish possible reason. Appearances. He doesn't care about me or my mom. He cares about the family looking good. And that makes him almost worse than my mom in some ways because at least my mom wants something real from me. Even if what she wants is completely delusional and self-serving, Derek just wants the problem to go away quietly. I'm going to confront Derek directly. That's the plan. Not through texts, not through other family members. Face to face, Brittany said she'd come with me, and then I'm going to talk to my mother. On my terms, in my time, when I'm ready. Not because she showed up at my job crying, not because the family guilted me, because I have 12 years of things to say to this woman, and she's going to hear every single one of them. I'll update after I deal with Derek. That's happening this week. Oh, and to the person who commented on my last post saying my mom probably misses me and I should give her a chance. She didn't miss me for 12 years, babe. She misses having options. There's a massive difference. I think the mom switching her story is gonna be the thing that takes her down. Because liars can survive one lie for years. But the second you change your lie, you're done. People can ignore the truth, but they cannot ignore a contradiction. And she just handed her daughter the biggest contradiction on a silver plate. And honestly, I have zero sympathy for Derek. At least the mom wants something, she's desperate and selfish, but there's a motivation there. Derek? He's willing to sacrifice his niece's peace so he can feel comfortable at family dinners. That's the most cowardly kind of person. Someone who doesn't even have the excuse of being desperate. He's just lazy about other people's pain. But here's what I really think. This girl doesn't need to go to war with her family. She doesn't need to expose anyone or give speeches or prove anything. The truth is already coming out on its own because her mom can't keep her story straight. All she has to do is sit back and let her mom keep talking. Liars always destroy themselves if you give them enough time and enough audience. Her mom's got both right now. Last update. All right, last update. Grab whatever you're drinking because this one's a ride. So Brittany and I went to Derek's house. He lives about 20 minutes outside Shreveport in one of those neighborhoods where everybody has a riding mower and a flag on their porch and acts like they're better than the rest of the family, even though they grew up in the same dirt we all did. We didn't tell him we were coming. Pulled up on a Tuesday evening because Brittany knew he'd be home. Grill night. Same routine for years. Man has never missed a Tuesday grill night in his life, but couldn't pick up a phone once in 12 years to check on his niece. He came to the door looking annoyed. When he saw me and Brittany, his whole face shifted. Tried to be casual, waved us in like we were just stopping by. I didn't sit down. Brittany didn't either. We stood in his kitchen and I told him I knew everything. The phone calls with my mom, the strategy, him telling Tammy to convince me, the fact that this whole family pressure campaign wasn't organic, it was coordinated, and he was running it. Derek tried to play it down. Started talking about family coming together, nobody benefiting from fighting, my mom struggling, and him just trying to find a solution. He kept saying that word, solution, like I'm a math equation. I told him I wasn't a solution or a problem. I told him I was a person he ignored for 12 years who is suddenly relevant because my mother needs a place to sleep. He got irritated, said I was twisting things. I told him to name one time. One time. He reached out to me between the ages of 14 and 26. One birthday, one holiday, one random Tuesday like the ones he spends grilling on his nice porch. He stood there and then tried to say this isn't about the past, it's about right now. And I told him, okay, Derek, you want to talk about right now? Right now I'm 26 and I still can't walk past the school supply aisle in Target in August without feeling sick. Because when I was 15, I stood in that aisle at the Walmart in Bossier City and watched a mom help her daughter pick out a new backpack and folders. And the girl was complaining about wanting the purple one instead of the blue one, and her mom was laughing and put both in the cart. And I was standing there with a used backpack I got from a donation bin at Tammy's church that had someone else's initials written on the inside flap in Sharpie. I carried that backpack for 2 years. I had to put duct tape on the strap junior year because it was ripping. And that girl was complaining about the color of her brand new bag, and I would have given anything for a mom who cared enough to stand in that aisle with me. That's right now, Derek. That doesn't go away because my mom decided she's lonely. He didn't say anything. Brittany jumped in and told him she heard his phone call with Tammy, heard him say this was about making the family look good, and that he needed to stop pretending any of this was about love because it was about his own embarrassment. Derek got mad at that. Told Brittany she was a kid who should stay out of grown folks' business. Brittany reminded him she's 20, and also reminded him that she was the only person who showed up to my graduation at 13 years old on a public bus. So maybe she's earned her seat at this table. I asked Derek one last thing, whether he actually believed my mom wanted a relationship or if he knew this was about housing. He didn't answer. Just said family takes care of family. And I told him, yeah, I know that. Because I spent every Thanksgiving from 14 to 18 watching Tammy try to stretch a meal for 3 kids when she could barely afford 2. I told him I know what family taking care of family looks like because I lived it in a laundry room and it wasn't him doing it. It was a woman with a wobbly kitchen table and a spare mattress who never once asked for credit or called the relatives or made it anyone else's problem. That's family taking care of family, not whatever he was doing from his nice house with his Tuesday grill nights while I was riding a busted Schwinn to a drive-through job in August heat so I could buy my own school shoes. We left. He didn't try to stop us. Then, my mom. I texted her from the car. I know I said I wanted to do this in person and on my terms, but after Derek, I was so fired up I couldn't hold it. I told her I knew everything. The Wednesday night call to Tammy, take her and don't bring her back. The foster care lie. The fact that she wants to move in with me. All of it. She called immediately. I answered because I had 12 years of things to say and I was done waiting. She started with the sobbing. Kept saying, I don't understand. I don't know what it was like. Curtis controlled everything. She was trapped. I let her go for about a minute and then I cut in. I told her Curtis didn't dial Tammy's number. Curtis didn't pack those bags. Curtis didn't walk outside and tell a 14-year-old this is temporary when she knew it was permanent. She did all that. On her own. With her own hands and her own mouth. She switched angles. Started talking about how young she was, how she never got to have a life, how she loved me but she was drowning. And that's when I really let her have it because I was also drowning and I was a child. I told her, do you want to know what drowning actually looks like? Drowning is being 15 and getting your period at school and not having a quarter for the machine in the bathroom and being too embarrassed to ask anyone and stuffing toilet paper in your underwear and walking around like that for the rest of the day because you don't have a mom to call. Drowning is sitting in Tammy's laundry room at midnight doing homework while the washing machine shakes the floor, and your cousin has a bedroom with a door, and you have a mattress between a Kenmore and a shelf of Gain. Drowning is being 16 and having a teacher ask you to bring in a baby photo for some class project, and you don't have a single photo of yourself as a baby because your mother didn't put the album in the garbage bags. Drowning is watching Elena's mom pack Elena's lunch every morning and write little notes on the napkin and knowing that nobody has written you a note like that ever. That's drowning. She was 30 years old with an apartment and a boyfriend. I was 14 with nothing, and she wants to compare. She got quiet for a while. Then she tried something new. She told me she came to get me once, about 6 months after she threw me out. She said she drove to Tammy's and sat in the driveway but was too ashamed to go inside. Drove home and never tried again. I told her that was worse than never coming at all, because it means she knew exactly where I was. She could have walked 20 steps from her car to that door. 20 steps. And she chose not to because she felt uncomfortable. Her shame was bigger than her kid. And I told her I want her to think about what I was doing that day. Whatever random day she sat in that driveway. I was probably doing homework next to a dryer, or cooking ramen for dinner, or trying to figure out how to get a ride to my shift the next day. I was right there, 20 steps from her, and she drove away. She chose herself, like she always does. That's when she got angry for the first time, stopped crying, told me I was being cruel, and she came to me with an open heart and I keep throwing it in her face. She said she knows she messed up but she's trying now and I won't give her a single chance. She said she can't change the past but she's here now and I'm punishing her for something that happened 12 years ago. I told her I'm not punishing her. Punishment means I'm doing something to her. I'm not doing anything to her. I'm just not doing anything for her. And there's a difference. I told her she doesn't get to call it cruel when I do to her exactly what she did to me, which is choose myself. I told her she's not entitled to my forgiveness because she finally decided to show up. She's not entitled to my home because hers is empty. And she's not entitled to call herself my mother when the only mothering I ever received came from a woman who gave me a mattress next to a washing machine and a cousin who took a bus to watch me graduate. She went quiet. Then she just said, "So that's it." And I said, "Yeah, Mom. That's been it since I was 14. Since I watched you walk back inside while I sat on a curb holding garbage bags. You went inside. I heard the TV through the window. You went back to your life and I had to build one from scratch. That's it." After we hung up, I sat in the car with Brittany and we didn't talk for a while. Then Brittany goes, "Well, that was a lot." And we both laughed because at some point you either laugh or you lose it, and I've spent enough years losing it. That night, I sent one message to the family group chat. I said, for anyone who's been calling me about my mom, she told everyone I ran away for 12 years. Now she's saying she sent me to Tammy's to protect me from Curtis. Those are two different stories, and you believed both without ever asking me what happened. I wasn't a runaway. I was a kid on a curb with garbage bags. Stop calling me ungrateful for surviving what she did to me. Ricky left the chat. Josephine sent a long reply about airing family business, and how this is exactly why people don't want to deal with me. A few cousins I barely know just hearted my message without commenting. Derek said nothing. Tammy texted me privately after, said she was proud of me. I told her I appreciate that, but we still have a lot to work through because 12 years of silence is 12 years of silence regardless of the reason. She said she understood. My mom hasn't contacted me since the call. Over a week now. I don't know if that's permanent or if she's regrouping. I don't care either way. My door is locked, been locked since I was 14. To everyone who followed this, y'all have been more present in my life for these few weeks than most of my blood relatives have been in 12 years, and that's not even a joke. Brittany says hi and that she's been reading your comments to me and screenshotting the best ones. I'm good. My duplex is small and my neighbor is still playing Zydeco at 7 a.m. But it's mine. Every bit of it. And nobody gets to take it from me. Josephine losing her mind about airing family business in the group chat is so funny to me because girl, the abuse was fine with you, but the truth is where you draw the line. That's how these families always work. I think she needs to stop caring about Ricky and Derek and Josephine entirely. Like, fully cut them out of the picture. Those people are not coming around. They would rather protect a lie they've been comfortable with for 12 years than admit they let a child down. That's not gonna change. Keep Brittany, keep Tammy close but hold her accountable, and everybody else is just noise. The Zydeco neighbor stays though. That man is the most consistent relationship in her life right now, and I respect it. Anyway, that's the story. Love you guys. See you in the next one.